one of the biggest myths about dyslexia is that you have dyslexia only if you can't read, where the science actually says that most people with dyslexia do read it to some point. So if you have a reader who is already reading, why would you do a program like this?
Well, there's different ways to read, or maybe even not read. But so when we are talking about reading, frequently we're talking about using our visual memory and using compensatory skills, as opposed to actually decoding word for word.
Right. And so when you mean visual memory, I think what we're talking about is that these kids are reading, but instead of reading by sound and sounding out words and decoding and encoding, they're kind of creating a little image of every word like they were a sight word. And the issue with visual reading is that although it may be effective up to a point, eventually what can happen is that the vocabulary can outstrip the visual memory. And also, usually about fourth or fifth grade, we see that the volume of reading has become such that they can't keep up anymore. Another issue with compensatory reading through visual memory is that it takes a lot more energy. So our brain kind of has like a RAM does on a computer. And when we try to read using visual memory as opposed to language processing, what happens is that cognitive load kind of gets really burned out. It gets kind of slow and it makes it really difficult to comprehend at a much richer level.
I would also like to add one thing that we always see as well is that maybe you can read with your visual memory until you come across a word you don't know. So actually being able, with your reading using language processing and you're actually decoding words, you're able to read even a word you don't know, as opposed to I'm reading along and everything's hunky-dory until I'm guessing or skipping and can totally throw us off.
So, Ashley, we work with a lot of learners who are older and who are reading up to some point. And, sometimes they insist that they're reading, and we know that they are. But how can we tell that they're compensatory reading as opposed to decoding and encoding using sound?
Oh, non-words. So you're reading something in context, it's words you've seen before that absolutely can read that. Or, maybe not every single person, but that is a frequent thing we do see. You put a sentence in front of somebody this grade level, and they might be able to read it or appear like they're reading, but not actually decoding. You put non-words in front of them, unless they've explicitly been taught those not programs, those patterns, then that's where you start to see that they're not actually decoding. They're using their visual memory.